It's hard to believe, but one of the most popular soft drinks in the world, Coca-Cola, once contained a powerful and controversial ingredient, real cocaine. Today, Coca-Cola is known as a refreshing, sweet, fizzy beverage available in more than 200 countries. But in its early days, the drink was very different. It was advertised not just as a soda, but as a health tonic, a brain booster, and even a medicine. And yes, for several years, every sip contained a dose of cocaine. To understand how this happened, we need to travel back to the 19th century. In the 1800s, cocaine was not considered dangerous the way it is today. In fact, it was seen as a kind of miracle drug. Doctors prescribed it for pain relief, fatigue, depression, and even as a treatment for morphine addiction. Famous people endorsed it, and companies marketed it in tonics, lozenges, and even wine. One of the most popular cocaine products of the time was called Vin Mariani, a French wine infused with coca leaves. It became a sensation across Europe and America, promoted as a drink that could lift your spirits, give you energy, and improve health. This is where Coca-Cola's story begins. In 1886, a pharmacist named John Pemberton from Atlanta, Georgia, was looking to create a unique beverage. Pemberton had been injured during the Civil War and developed an addiction to morphine. Like many others of his time, he turned to coca-based products as a remedy. Inspired by Vin Mariani, he created his own version called Pemberton's French wine coca. It was a mix of coca leaves, cola nuts, alcohol, and other flavorings. The coca leaves provided cocaine, and the cola nuts supplied caffeine. This combination produced a stimulating effect, energy, alertness, and euphoria. However, when Atlanta introduced prohibition laws banning alcohol in the mid-1880s, Pemberton was forced to modify his formula. He removed the wine, added sugar syrup, carbonated water, and kept the coca leaves and cola nuts. The result was a non-alcoholic, fizzy drink with a unique taste. This was the birth of Coca-Cola. And yes, the coca in the name referred to cocaine from coca leaves, while the cola came from caffeine-rich cola nuts. At first, Coca-Cola was sold at soda fountains and pharmacies as a medicinal tonic. It was marketed as a cure for headaches, fatigue, and even impotence. Advertisements described it as delicious, refreshing, invigorating, and promised it could relieve exhaustion and give you energy. Customers loved it. By the late 1880s, Coca-Cola was becoming a hit, and Pemberton sold portions of his business to investors. After his death in 1888, the company came under the control of businessman Asa Candela, who aggressively marketed the drink, turning it into a nationwide brand. In response, Coca-Cola began to gradually reduce the amount of cocaine in its formula. By 1904, the company started using spent coca leaves that had already been processed to remove most of the cocaine alkaloid. This allowed Coca-Cola to keep its flavor but eliminate the drug content. By around 1929, scientists had perfected a process to remove the cocaine completely from coca leaves, leaving only the flavor compounds. From that point on, Coca-Cola was cocaine-free. Interestingly, the company still uses coca leaves today, but only in a special, tightly controlled way. There is one facility in the United States, the Stepan Company in New Jersey, that is licensed by the D to import coca leaves from Peru and process them. The cocaine alkaloid is removed and sold for medical use, such as local anesthesia and surgeries, while the cocaine-free leaves are used to produce Coca-Cola's flavoring. This is a secret part of the Coca-Cola formula, often referred to as merchandise No. 7. So, why did Coca-Cola survive while other cocaine-infused products disappeared? The answer lies in smart business and timing. By removing cocaine at just the right time, Coca-Cola avoided being banned, and by shifting its marketing focus from medicine to refreshment, it transformed into a global soft drink giant. Today, Coca-Cola is one of the most recognized brands in history, worth billions of dollars. Most people have no idea that its roots lie in a 19th century cocaine-infused tonic. The story of Coca-Cola reminds us how much science, culture, and business can change over time, and how a drink that once promised medical benefits turned into the world's most famous soda. When you pick up a can of Coke today, you're holding more than a soft drink. You're holding a piece of history, a story that began with a Civil War veteran, a dangerous drug, and a simple idea that changed the world. Long before Coca-Cola became the world's most recognized soft drink, the story begins thousands of years earlier in the mountains of South America. The Andes were home to the coca plant, a small green shrub with powerful properties. For centuries, indigenous people chewed coca leaves during long journeys across the mountains. It gave them energy, kept hunger away, and helped them breathe in the thin air of the high altitudes. To them, coca was not just a plant, it was sacred, a gift from nature. It was used in religious rituals, ceremonies, and as medicine for fatigue and pain. No one at that time could have imagined that this humble leaf would one day be at the center of one of the biggest companies in history. By the 16th century, when Spanish colonizers arrived in South America, they quickly noticed how the native population relied on coca. The Europeans were fascinated by its stimulating effects. At first, they dismissed it as superstition, but soon they realized that coca provided real physical benefits. Spanish miners in the silver mines of Potosi, Bolivia, used coca leaves to endure harsh conditions. Slowly, coca began to spread beyond South America. But it was not until centuries later that scientists in Europe managed to extract the plant's most powerful ingredient, cocaine. In the mid-1800s, European chemistry was advancing rapidly. Scientists were extracting new compounds from plants and experimenting with them in medicine. In 1859, a German chemist named Albert Niemann successfully isolated the active alkaloid from coca leaves. He called it cocaine. This white, crystalline powder was unlike anything doctors had seen before. It was a powerful stimulant, numbing pain, sharpening the mind, and creating a burst of euphoria. By the late 19th century, cocaine had become the new wonder drug of Europe and America. Doctors began prescribing it for everything: headaches, toothaches, depression, and even fatigue. Surgeons used it as a local anesthetic, dentists gave it to patients, and pharmacists sold it freely over the counter. At that time, there were no strict drug regulations, so cocaine quickly became a popular ingredient in tonics, wines, and patent medicines. Society was entering what some historians call the cocaine craze. Even famous figures praised it. The legendary neurologist Sigmund Freud experimented with cocaine himself and called it a magical substance that could treat depression and boost energy. Meanwhile, companies in Europe created coca-based wines like the famous Vin Mariani, which was endorsed by kings, queens, and even Pope Leo XIII, who appeared on its advertisement holding a bottle. Across the Atlantic, in the United States, another movement was taking shape: the rise of patent medicines. These were bottled mixtures claiming to cure all kinds of diseases.